This video will contain extensive spoilers for the ending of Tears of the Kingdom. You've been warned. One of the main complaints I saw a lot of people sharing about Breath of the Wild was the final boss. I mean, in many ways it was a disappointment. Lynels, an enemy that can be found in various locations around Hyrule, are harder than the final boss, so let's take a look at what it did wrong. It's creatively bankrupt, mechanically speaking. You can tell the developers had difficulty coming up with good ideas for this final boss, and they might have also lacked the time, resources, and energy to do it any differently. This fight doesn't do anything interesting. You first fight what is basically a slightly glorified version of the Blight bosses, which you fought 4 times already. Plus, with the assistance of the Master Sword, it feels as though there's not much you have to do but swing. And then for the second phase, you now participate in target practice. Great. It's boring and unclimactic. This fight feels like an obligation. So far I've been rather critical of this fight, and I don't mean to come off the wrong way. The fight is good enough, in the sense that it serves its purpose as a final boss fight. The issue is that this is the event that's been hyped up throughout the entire duration of the game, but it falls flat. It feels like it exists because it's necessary for it to exist, as though the fight was an afterthought to everything else in the game. It doesn't leave you feeling satisfied because of my next point. It feels like an insult to the player's skill. The fight is too easy. You've gone through so much in this game, and it really does have a lot of difficult challenges for you to face. As you improve at the game's mechanics, Link himself gains more stamina and hearts, and for each divine beast you defeat, you're pitted against stronger and stronger enemies and continue to receive stronger and stronger weapons. With the champion's abilities included, Link and you, the player, have become a powerhouse at the end of the game. A boss that's this easy is just a shame considering our strength by this point. For the sake of fairness, I'll quickly note some things that this ending did well. The soundtrack was climactic and just really good, like listen to this. And as you can see, the spectacle of the fight was also fairly well done. This also ties into the ending, which was good enough to leave a good taste in the player's mouth, even if the final fight didn't. Let's take a look at how Tears of the Kingdom solved these issues. Tears of the Kingdom as a whole tends to be a harder game, and I think that was absolutely the right choice. It's not Dark Souls as this guy puts it, because despite its difficulty, Link is given a tremendous amount of resources to make ingenuity your strength. Where this final boss shines is that it's not insulting you with its childlike difficulty. The final boss of Breath of the Wild was easy, perhaps in an effort to account for the varying skill levels of the large player base of the game. This game essentially threw that concept aside, and instead opted to make the final boss flat out difficult. It knew the player would have many hours in the game. Breath of the Wild had a mechanic in which, if the player did not do the 4 main quests, the undefeated Blight bosses would each be presented to the player in order to discourage them from reaching the final fight early. If this concept was implemented, why baby them with the final fight? Tears of the Kingdom made absolute sure the player cannot reach Ganondorf unless they are powerful enough to take him on. This is for a few reasons. Firstly, the gauntlet leading up to the final fight is a good skill check to ward the player off if they aren't properly prepared, as there are lots of difficult enemies in this region. Secondly, the Demon King's army is a huge chore and a lot harder without the help of the sages to distract enemies for you, give you 4 times the firepower, and offer their abilities to help protect you and defeat enemies. Thirdly, you have to fight 5 extra bosses without the help of the sages that you're supposed to have. Fourthly, you have to fight all these Phantom Ganons and the final boss Ganondorf himself without the assistance of the sages. And last but not least, you also have to consider a large amount of resources are necessary to stay healed during all these fights, especially since Gloom can take hearts and Ganon has the capacity to permanently take hearts away from you. All in all, this fight was just difficult in a way that was greatly satisfying. With limited resources available to you when you do it, it becomes an actual test of your skill, and many players struggled with it. This fight is incredibly clever and has a ton of moments that leave the player agape from what they just witnessed and took part in. Mechanically speaking, it does a lot of things that are both interesting and push the player to their limit. The most obvious example is when Ganondorf executes a perfect dodge on Link's attack, meaning that Link must attack, be dodged, and then dodge the following attack himself in order to actually connect a hit on Ganondorf. This is testament to how the fight truly feels like a showdown between Link and Ganondorf at something as simple as swordplay. You're just using the game's mechanics against each other, with both parties having advantages that the other does not. This makes for what feels like an actual battle between 2 people instead of a boss fight. As far as creativity goes, the sequence in which Ganondorf's HP bar far exceeds the normal limit is not only a fun way of showing his strength, but also a deliberate choice to compensate for how disappointing Breath of the Wild's approach was. In Breath of the Wild, Ganon's HP is halved before the fight begins. In this game, it's doubled, which makes it feel like the true fight we've been waiting for all along. This entire sequence, from the boss rush to the final boss itself and its many phases, is nothing short of riveting. It is a well-crafted, climactic series of set pieces and payoffs that makes you immensely satisfied to have made it this far in the game. Thematically and literally speaking, this entire game sequence mirrors the way the game began. Upon completing the gauntlet preceding the fight, Link dives into a chasm open during the beginning of the game, where you can find the torch Zelda dropped. There are also a few more sneaky parallels, such as Link catching Zelda in the finale, alluding to his failure to do so in the opening. Given the time between these two occurrences, it feels like a truly complete way of eliminating the lingering fear of Ganondorf and the struggle he's caused in the game. I've mentioned already the armies and bosses that you need to fight to actually reach Ganondorf, but when you do, you're in for an incredibly thorough final sequence. Ganondorf awakens, revitalizes, and you do battle, all while underscored by impressive orchestration, reusing old tracks and motifs from the series, like Ganon's theme, which has made an appearance in a lot of games, but most recently Breath of the Wild, which now has had its tempo increased, which gives the impression of fighting the real thing, whereas the Blights were an incomplete version of him. It is also used in his introduction to great effect. Making you really feel how do or die this battle is. That's not the end of motifs though, there'll be more. After you complete his first phase, reminiscent of the Shadow Ganons you fought prior, you now get serious in this bout to the death between the two of you. And that's what happens. After pushing him to the brink of defeat, a true test of your ability, he becomes a dragon, in a fight that I can only describe as what Breath of the Wild's Dark Beast Ganon wishes it could be. Looking at this is awe-inspiring enough, but participating in this ridiculously epic duel is a joy and a sort of cathartic finish after the face-to-face combat earlier. A true rush of emotions. As this is happening, the main theme of Tears of the Kingdom comes back, and you just get to enjoy soaring over Hyrule for the grand finale. Being caught by the light dragon every time you dive is super satisfying too. And thus, the game prompts you to deliver the final blow, solidifying your victory with a nuclear explosion. Yeah, that's great and all, but what comes next is truly just a beautiful moment. The orchestra enters full swing, playing the most powerful part of the main theme as you dive to save Zelda. To make things more incredible, it transitions into Zelda's lullaby in an emotional rendition suitable for an ending this powerful. As you reach to take your hand, it switches to the main theme of The Legend of Zelda itself, and as you hit the water,
In a dream, right? I have so much to tell you. So much happened. Oh, Link, I'm home.
And so begins Link and Zelda's reunion, in a final scene sure to leave an impact.